We sat talking about our stories. I told them of some of my adventures, as did the boy about him and his father, how they had escaped their council flat when the fog came their way, until it was very late indeed. Edward showed us to our 2 rooms next to his, and we retired much exhausted for the night. The morning must have awoken with the cock crowing, but this was not how we were woken up. A large crash downstairs was heard, then the sound of heavy boots running up the stairs. I bolted upright, got to my door, opened it, only to be confronted with the bearded man. How stupid, I thought. We had felt so comfortable here, we should have left in the middle of the night and gone far away. Now, despite escaping, we were once again amongst this maniac. He grabbed me by the arm and threw me to the ground. I hit the wall with a thud. The 2 doors opened, and now came the boy and Edward. I shouted to Edward to take the boy, as I saw the bearded man reaching out for him. "Of course," said Edward, pulling the boy within his protective arms, almost cradling him. The bearded man remained as still. I expected him to finish me off, and in those few moments of silence, I felt a strange unease. "Have you quite finished?" said Edward, facing the bearded man. "No," said the bearded man. I stood up, ready to fill in myself some more. "I don't know why you have to be so rough," continued Edward. "Rough is better than wine and dining them." "He's so vulgar," said Edward, facing me. He continued, "Allow me to introduce you. My erstwhile cousin, Thomas Greer." "What?" I said. "What do you mean? You know him?" "It's so unfortunate you had to find out like this. This is not the way it is done, but my cousin is so impatient, aren't you?" "He's such a wimp," said the bearded man. "He would have drugged you with your breakfast, then he would have taken you. He doesn't like his victims to know them as his killer." "I'm not a killer." He opened the door to the left, and it opened out to a room I'd already seen. It was the man on the rack. My eyes betrayed my confusion. "Yes, you see, this is one house. When you came out, you walked into my side of the house. I don't like living with him. He makes so much noise. I like my peace and quiet, always have. So, you see, I would have drugged you. My cousin would have carried you to my room, to the rooms, put you on my toys. Then I would have turned a few knobs, pulled a lever, and so forth. Oh, you thought these rooms were my cousin's. Now he only assists me. I don't like physical contact. He handles all that. He gets them and so forth. I set up the toys and handle the pain and drugs. It's much more polite and dignified the way I handle things. Not like my cousin. He would have just skinned you off the bone, and we would have eaten you for dinner." I could not believe what he was saying. All along we thought the bearded man was the killer. Those rooms I found in his house, but it was one big house, and those rooms were Edward Greer's, a man who cordially entertained and fed us. It was he who administered the pain, the torture, he, the quiet and almost inept one, the killer, and his rougher, vulgar cousin, just the lackey. "See what I mean?" said Thomas Greer. "A wimp, can't touch the bodies, doesn't like to get his hands blooded, but I must do as he says. We all must have our hobbies." Thomas, as he had done when we had met him, began to cough and shake. "See, you can't very well do killing myself, now that I've got these damn shakes. Would be far on 'em, not like this." His cough got violently worse. Blood sipped out of his mouth in a long trail. He coughed up some white balls. Then he held his stomach tight, as if someone was rummaging around inside. Then he fell with a scream so loud with a thud, head first. His cousin Edward Greer dropped to his knees. "What's wrong with him? Tommy, say something. What's wrong? Are you all right?" But it was obvious. He was dead. Maybe this was, as Harkin said, the other way the fog would kill us, those that survived the initial waves. Edward held onto Thomas's head. A clump of hair came away. and Thomas's head dropped back to the ground, loose of his hair. Edward Greer wailed and shouted, "No, no, no," continuously. His tears were as if he had lost all the world. How pathetic, I thought, this evil man with a sugary smile. He had his comeuppance. It felt only fitting that this man, Edward Greer, who had inflicted so much pain throughout his torturous ways, should have pain too, from the only thing that would inflicted upon him the loss of his accomplice, his cousin. I picked the boy up, and we left Edward Greer as he wailed over the dead corpse of his cousin. I broke into one of the cars outside. Inside the house, Edward's mood had turned into a rage. He started to smash things about the house. As he did so, he knocked over a lantern. A fire caught some papers on the floor, and it wasn't long till it lit up the books on the 3 sides of the wall. From the window on the 4th side, I saw him banging his fists on the double-glazed glass. I looked straight into his terror-stricken eyes, turned away as he continued to bang, and almost in his vein slowly started the ignition. Released the handbrake, pressed my foot on the accelerator a little, and drove slowly down the gravelled courtyard. As Edward Greer, fully alight, screaming within the flames, as he was about to join his dead cousin, Thomas Greer.